Welcome to Inside Texas Football, powered by InsideTexas.com. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We want to get 10,000 subs. Once we get 10,000 subs, everyone will feel happy, secure, and will never feel pain again. Also, use promo code IT1 to get 2 months for $1 single. I'm here with Paul Wadlington. We do this on Tuesdays at 9:30. We break down the upcoming opponents. We also talk a little bit about last Saturday's game, but it's our advanced scout. And then at the end, we talk about opponent games of interest, which I did not leave Tennessee and Oklahoma off, and that's why we were not a little bit late to start the live.
That's right.
All right, Jacob Woodyard, hook 'em. Would you rather have Deion Walker or Walter Nolan on this Texas team? Both are stud. DL.
Deion Walker.
Is Walker Kentucky?
He is. Yeah, he is Kentucky's nose tackle. He's like a in shape T'Vondre Sweat.
Yeah. I slept quite well. I was rested and I feel beautiful. I'm known for my lively personality and not monotone nature.
Without your voice modification software,
yeah,
there's not a lot. You're not that special.
Someone
used to do the Homer previews. I'm like, this dude has an awesome voice, and then I realized it was all just auto tune.
There's a guy that accused me of using AI on my voice, and I was like, all right, maybe. Really, what it is, man, is just this is a $500 microphone. This is a $100 microphone. So the big guns come out on the previews, but when we're just doing the streams and stuff like that, we don't get the high quality microphone.
You purposely limit the fidelity of your voice unless it's your product. I love that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I make sure to cheapen anything we do on Inside Texas, but Homer, that gets the good stuff.
That's good stuff, man.
Homer needs to hit the Red Bull earlier. I had a little bit of Starbucks cold brew, but I don't think it's kicked in yet. We'll see.
God,
all right, Paul. Let's break down what we were going to discuss on today's show. Quick thoughts from UTSA. We're not going to spend too much time on it. Just did we learn anything of value here? And then we're going to, of course, break down the ULM offense, ULM defense, opponent games of interest. First things first, Paul, could you get anything major that we can carry through the season out of the UTSA game?
Well, or anything majors.
There you go. Jake Majors. Jake Majors is your key there.
Tip to our starting center. Yeah, actually, I got from us that we're not Notre Dame. We're not Arkansas after they played Oklahoma State well at home against UAB. Texas was focused. They came out. Sark helped foster that focus. What did we do on the first drive? 8 consecutive throws, all play action. Slick. Ewers goes 7 of 8 for 77 yards and a touchdown. Sark says, hey, let's set a tone. Let's get some juice going. We're not going to dive it up the middle twice because it's an inferior opponent and give them a chance to put us in 3rd and long, right?
Yeah.
So they got things going. I thought everyone played hard. I thought they were very businesslike, very professional, and sort of, hey, this is an inferior opponent. We're at home. Let's dispatch them and do what we're supposed to do and get better. And then I think we got great reps and exposure for a lot of backups, and particularly 3 very talented young freshmen, specifically Ryan Wingo, Jarrett Gibson, and Colin Simmons. Those 3 guys were really featured in many ways, and they came up big, and I think that's going to pay big dividends for Texas down the road. What did you see, Homer?
One quick thing when you said Gibson, did you see Sark's presser yesterday? He said that Gibson, is baby Rhino, and he hasn't quite learned to get in the open field. He seeks contact. Yeah. And that is what I love, that he could attempt to juke that safety and he does not care. He puts his helmet right into their chest. Same thing, opening drive. I even tweeted, I'm like, wow, we're going a lot of quick passes here. That was interesting. And then it was more our depth, man. I really saw how fast Bond was too.
Yes.
I knew he was fast, but on that screen, and I can't remember the analytics site, but he topped out quick, and I don't even think that was at his dead sprint.
Yeah, Real Analytics does the GPS stuff, and he topped out at 22.1. So he's even faster than Arch Manning, Connor.
Yeah, I know. That's been all week, man, is Arch Manning's speed. It's nice to have a player that everyone cares about so much, but it's also comical, how quick the mainstream media takes the lamestream media from the other night on the post game. But yeah, that was a trip. Yeah, I thought we had killer instinct. I thought we were a little sloppy, to be honest. I thought like assignment wise, we weren't great on a lot of stuff, but we still won dominantly. Dominantly is not a term, but in a dominant fashion. So I think we're kind of in that era now where it doesn't have to be perfect, but we just have so much depth that we can get the dub.
Yeah, we won with dominantness is the correct term.
Yeah, dominately.
Dominatrix.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the Google algorithm. If it's your call and Quinn was healthy enough to play, do you play Quinn versus Mississippi State or do you rest him to play OU?
He plays. If he's healthy enough to play against Mississippi State, he plays against Mississippi State.
Yeah, I really don't have an argument with it, especially because Mississippi State's struggling.
Like extra rest, if a guy's ready to play, a guy's ready to play.
Yeah. Bonnier, we rewatch who in the second or third string stood out to you besides Ty Anthony Smith.
Well, so technically, Jarek Gibson is third string,
right?
But we kind of gave him a feature role, so we put Jaden Blue on ice for obvious reasons. I think he was probably at 90%, and they were like, "Hey, if we were playing Georgia, Jaden, you're out there." But why play him? Wisner and Gibson have it on lockdown, and Colin Page, of course, the pride of Centex. So Ty Anthony Smith is the guy that flashed. I mean, just ridiculous.
Looked like a real linebacker, man.
Vosick looked terrific. Again, he's just a very natural pass rusher. And I'll point out, he's a 6'5" guy with bend. He can change and alter levels, and that's not an easy thing for big, tall defensive ends to do. And he's an impressive guy. Just how he moves, I think he's going to be a really good player for us. And he just happens to be caught in a log jam of really good edge play.
Yeah, when you see him on the field, you're like, that's an NFL player immediately.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In 2022, yours came in cold to the Red River and whipped him 49-0.
Yeah, that was a little different Oklahoma defense that he faced in that situation. OU has been a little disappointing this year. They're still undefeated, but their defense has been good for them.
That's also when we had to battle against old General Booty, who we'll discuss here shortly.
That's right.
So that injury takes a month.
Usually does, actually, but apparently we got the lighter, mild version of this. So that's what we're hearing. Poo. So thank you for the intel. But yeah, you're right. If you strain your oblique at even a moderate level, that's typically 6 to 8 weeks for a rotation athlete, like a pitcher or a quarterback.
Yeah, anything
apparently this is a more minor version. And so what I've heard is if he had to go this weekend, he could get a pharmaceutical intervention and go this weekend if he had to. Absolutely.
Give him the super juice in the tent.
I just think they give him a juice box and tell him that he could to believe in himself.
Sugar Gatorade, something like that.
Sugar Gatorade, as Connor likes to refer to it.
Yep. All right, you ready to talk old ULM offense?
I'm ready to talk ULM offense because I love 1978 football. Let's go.
I was looking. I've heard you always say that they had what do they call it, the season of greatness or whatever, and it was 8 wins.
Yeah, they went 8-5 and they lost their bowl game by 30.
Yeah, I went through their record because I was like, man, this isn't a good team. But yeah, since 1994, their best season is 8 wins, and they did it once.
Yeah, they call it the season of magic in their press.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah,
and they finished second in the conference.
So, I did not realize that either. But
put some respect on the Warhawks.
Yeah, so let's break down their offensive personnel.
Let's do it.
All right. I have their stats. Paul will tell you about the persons. First, let's start with their rushing offense. I think that's kind of
that's the highlight.
Yeah, that's the key to everything. We can pull up the stats here.
And we're talking about the 2-0 ULM Warhawks.
Yeah.
Crushed Jackson State, not Jacksonville State, Jackson State, the SWAC team in the FCS. And then they whipped Trent Dilfer and UAB at home, which is hilarious if you know the backstory. Bryant Vincent, the head coach at ULM, was the interim coach at UAB in 2022. Did a good job, brought him to a bowl. The AD lets him go because he gets star-crossed eyes for Trent Dilfer, thinking that he's like a Deion Sanders hire, and that he's going to bring all sorts of attention and recruits to UAB. And I guess he didn't get the memo that Trent Dilfer was a journeyman NFL quarterback that was carried to a Super Bowl by his defense. So that didn't quite materialize. The ticket sales haven't quite materialized, and the national media and fans can tell the difference between Deion Sanders and Trent Dilfer. So anyway, UAB got hided down at ULM. It was hilarious, and Vincent got a little measure of revenge. So
well, and Dilfer was mad because he basically said he poached a ton of my staff, and so he said that before the game, and I was like, how did he poach you? He was there before you got there.
Also, people have free will and can work wherever they like.
Yeah, and I've never really been a fan. I don't think he's a fun guy to work for. All right, so big thing that we have to know going into their offense is they're obsessed with the rushing attack, 9th in the nation in rushing attempts per game. Super varied run game. So if you're a fan of the ground attack, this is a fun team to watch. They do all sorts of schemes, perimeter runs, interior runs. They have 3 backs that they utilize that we can discuss. A lot when I was watching them versus UAB on old ESPN Plus, I'd be like, oh, that's neat on several run plays.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a smart way to do that. Or I haven't seen that done. So if you're just a fan and you appreciate schematics, you'll like watching this team.
Tell them about the sprint trap, Connor.
Yeah. They had a QB rollout. Like the quarterback was going to roll out, and then they just turned around and ran the trap scheme. And it's the fastest hitting run play. And I love trap. But there was a couple times where I'd pause it and I would rewind and try to be like, how did they get into that? So they're fun, but really at their core, they just want to keep the ball moving forward. They don't have a ton of great personnel. And I think the coach has given a very honest assessment of his team, and he knows to move forward. And now he was at New Mexico last year, I believe.
Yes.
And I didn't watch their offense, so I didn't know how obsessed naturally he is with the run or how much of this is truly just him looking at his personnel. Do you know, Paul?
It's his strength, but it's also what his personnel pointed him to. So in New Mexico, he actually took over a terrible offense last year and actually made them very respectable. They could run on anybody. The rest of the team was deficient, but they could run the ball. And he brought the same DNA to ULM. And by the way, he did it with 73 new players at ULM. You heard that correctly, 73. Yeah. They brought in 73 guys in the spring and the summer to turn over that roster, and they're all JUCOs. A lot of them are sort of tertiary transfers from places like Dixie State and Jones College, like places I've never heard of.
Yep.
But they went and got some good JUCOs, and we're going to talk about them, a couple of them later. But there's going to be a talent deficit on the field in Austin. But I got to say, he and his staff have done a really good job of integrating this creative run game with a bunch of new faces. It's impressive.
Yeah, they don't look disjointed like a bunch of transfers.
No, they don't play like a bunch of Dumbo JUCOs.
Yeah, like they've been impressive, and that's what I think he's doing a good coaching job so far. I mean, he's going to have there's a clear low ceiling for this team personnel wise, but as far as like coaching and stuff, I've been really impressed with what they've done in the first 2 weeks there. All right, yards per rush, 58th in the nation. So they're doing all right there. Now, keep in mind, they played Jackson State and UAB, and then last week was a bye.
Yes.
So, none of these games are versus Bama, but they've done all right there, moving the ball forward. Not an explosive rushing offense. So that's something to be noted. Not a lot of home run hitting, that kind of stuff. So be aware of that. So they're just kind of moving the ball, chipping away at you. If we look at their depth chart here, James Jones, Ahmad Hardy, you need to pay attention to. That's their freshman, and he's the most dynamic of the runners, in my opinion. So keep an eye out for him. James Jones is a bigger back at 6'2", 205, junior, older back, and he's really good north-south. He's not as shifty as Ahmad Hardy, but he's good north and south. And then Curry, he's their most likely to get involved in the pass game. But they utilize these kind of 3 backs, so be aware of these. But I would say as far as like upside, Ahmad Hardy is going to be your back you want to watch out for the most, and he is number 22. So run game is the kind of the key there. Any other pieces?
Yeah, I also to know they have about a 70-30 run pass bias. So Texas is around 50-50, but we also end up 50-50 because at the end of the game we run the ball in blowouts, right?
Right.
So we'll probably have a little bit more pass bias when the game is in doubt.
Right.
But they're 70-30. and they stick to it. So that'll be very interesting. Do we want to talk about their passing game in quotes?
Yeah, exactly. Theoretically, they have a passing game.
Led by General Booty.
Yeah, that's important. So he was at OU in 22. Was he there last year? I can't remember if he transferred out when he transferred out.
Don't know.
Don't know, but he was at OU in 22 when we beat him 49-0. And there's a reason that they wanted to play a tight end as their quarterback more often than Booty. So he's a pretty limited quarterback. There's really not much more to it there. Pretty limited, and you see that reflected in the passing offense. So
yes, 75% of their passing attempts are 9 yards or less. They've attempted one ball over 20 yards in 2 games, and that was incomplete. And
2 or 3 intermediate balls. So it's not even like they're not throwing, they're going to hit the intermediate. They're literally not pushing the ball more than 10 yards down the field. Very rare. Occasionally you'll see Javon Campbell, who's their wideout. Like I saw it once. He had a one-on-one with the corner and they threw the go ball. It didn't complete. But the big trick for our corners is like, don't fall asleep here. Because you might not legitimately have to do anything all game.
How desperate was ULM to make at quarterback to make that booty call?
There we go.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Legendary. That's getting clipped. You're welcome. That's on Twitter. Passing attempts per game, 16, 130th in the nation. So yards per pass.
They have 2 games and they have under 200 total yards passing. So
it's insane. Yards per pass, 113th in the nation. So they are averaging 5.4 yards per pass. To give you guys context here, there are 30 teams in the nation that have a higher yards per rush. So there's 30 teams that run the ball on average further than this offense passes the ball. So that's a pretty crazy number. Passing yards per game, 1 spot away from being the worst in the nation. Success rate, like how consistent are they moving the ball passing? They're not consistent, 88th in the nation. And then they have some light passing explosivity, below average still, though, at 70th.
Yep.
So not great. As far as their personnel there, you want to be looking at slot Devon Wells. He has 9 targets. So he leads the team with 9 targets. Second is Javon Campbell. That was the wideout I was telling you about. He's a big guy, 6'3", 210. He has 6.
He has 5 catches for 89 yards and 1 touchdown. So he is their explosive receiver.
He's their deep.
Yeah, he's their deep threat. He runs, 11-yard routes.
Yeah.
And then Wells is their slot that they dump it off to about 1.5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so average depth of target of 1.8 yards, which is insane. But he averages yards after catch per reception 6.8. So he is like, once he catches that screen, he has the ability to get you 6 yards, which is good. It's just they'll have him on jet motion. All the typical speedy slot stuff is going to be Devon Wells. They also like Jake Godfrey, who's their second slot. He has some punt return stuff listed as a punt returner, but it's generally Wells who we see. And supposedly Tyler Griffin exists, but he only has 1 target. So not a lot going on there. I would be interested to see what these guys would look like in actual passing offense, but they're utilized so rarely, you can't get a huge eval on them. But just know Javon Campbell, big outside guy, Devon Wells, quick, small slot, speed. And they're just going to dump it off to him. That's it. You need to be aware of everything in the passing game is coming off the running game, right? So everything is going to be play action, disguised. They do a lot of split zone with the tight ends. I believe tight end Nate Sullivan. Yep, Nate Sullivan Jr. A lot of split zone running behind the line. And then, of course, they're going to leak, the 9th time he does that, they're going to leak him out on a flat route. And that's how they're going to hit the tight end. But everything's disguised with the run. They do a really good job of that. But their offensive line is technically a really good pass blocking offensive line. But listen to this. The reason is because they have 3, count them, 3 in 2 games, true pass sets, meaning a pass set where it wasn't a screen, it wasn't a quick time to throw, it wasn't a short ball, meaning they actually had to drop back, protect their quarterback as he went through progressions. They've had 3 all season. So
yeah, so if you're someone who looks at like PFF grading or something like that, the offensive line is going to be rated well as pass blockers. And
so you have to mention that. So it's like I have. Yeah. So in the breakdown, it says, hey, they're technically fourth out of the SEC. They've only done it 3 times. It's fool's gold. And they've given up, it's good because they've given up 0 sacks. Well, there's only 3 times where you could even give up a sack. So just be aware of that. The offensive line is going to be hyperinflated due to the style of this passing attack. But just be aware that it's all going to be handoffs and tricky angles in the pass game. And then occasionally Booty's going to pull it and try to hit somebody, maybe deep, man. Who knows?
So what's their best goal here, Homer? It's going to be 10 play, 45-yard drives where they eat clock, they frustrate, bore us, and wear us out, and they keep converting 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s. Does that sound like the game plan?
If their coach could draw up the game plan, that would be in the perfect world how it would look. They're not going to be able to do that, but that's the perfect world. And I think too, like realistically, if I was the coach, I'd be like, man, you just hope like Devon Wells, the nickel falls asleep because we haven't done anything in 40 plays. And then he's able to just kind of skirt, kind of like the run with UTSA, but like a slot version of that where we just kind of fall asleep and they're able to head out. But yeah, in the perfect world, it would be ground control and a lot of domination. But when you're facing Texas, you're not going to be able to do that. That is a lot of red on that chart. Yep.
And red is bad.
Yeah, red is bad. You
want to talk a little defense? We'll see some more blue and clear on that one.
Yeah, you'll actually be able to see some more positive stuff on the old defense. Yeah, we will in 1 second. But first, let's hear from the one and only Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Good stuff. First, let's hit quick. They're overall, when you put the offense together, Brian Fremo's advanced analytic, they're the 122nd offense in the nation. And then third down, they struggle, 80th in the nation on situational and 112th on fourth down. So elite red zone offense, but that's a little tricky. They've only played 2 games. And so, if they got in the red zone twice and kicked field goals twice, they have 100% red zone.
Well, so they've been in the red zone 8 times. They scored touchdowns 4. Kicked 4 field goals 4. So
there is some value there.
I mean, they score, but you'd rather get higher than 50% touchdowns in the red zone.
Correct. All right.
Look at that. Some green.
Some green, guys. So the defense done well here. Opponent points per game, 6. Opponent yards per play, they're 9th. Now keep in mind Jackson State and UAB here. But not a bad defense. Once again, this doesn't scale with Texas guys, so we're not saying that Texas is going to struggle with this defense, but the numbers are the numbers. They've been good at holding people on non-explosive drives, and they've been good about creating havoc. So sacks, interceptions, tip balls, that kind of stuff, stuffing the run. So pretty good.
Yes, schematically, they play a 3-man front, but they're pretty multiple. They'll also play their rush linebacker, their edge up on the line, along with another linebacker to make a 5-man front. Mm-hmm. But their 3 core linemen are they go 275, 285, 265. Yeah. So they have to slant to get disruption to stop the running game. And they've been successful doing that. And I think their best defensive lineman, he's a guy from Mansfield who's been very effective. He's a good pass rusher.
Which one is that?
Devin. Dang it, I'm blanking on his name. I just wrote it down a second ago.
Jalen Ware?
No. It's I don't know, I will come back to it.
Cool.
But he's pretty good. And then they have a linebacker who's very impactful that we'll talk about.
Yeah, old Billy. But yeah, as you can see on the interior here, Cavante Wells, 265.
Not Javon Campbell. Sorry. It's Dylan Howell.
Yep. Okay. Dylan here. Yeah. Dylan Howell right here, 275. So you can see Cavante Wells, 265, Jalen Ware, 285, Earl Barquette, 280, Dylan Howell, 275. So very undersized defensive interior, meaning that Texas is going to have ability to push them off the ball. But
I will say this. Those guys who are structured that way, I mean, they have a 285-pound nose, but he's 6 feet, which means he's probably, 5'10"?
Right.
Those guys actually can give you trouble if you're a big offensive line that's tall.
Have leverage.
They've got leverage, and those are guys that actually have given Hayden Connor a lot of trouble. Whereas, ironically, Michigan's first-round NFL DTs, he pass blocks better against them because they're up with him, right?
They're not playing more heads up. But yeah, even like last year, remember Rice? We were struggling to block Rice because they have quick little.
Yeah, DeBraylon Carroll gave us big headaches. So it'd be an interesting thing to watch. But over time, that size deficit's going to really wear on them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So opponent yards per rush do pretty well there. 2.6 yards, not bad, right? 18th in the country. Their success rate, their consistency is not good, 100th in the country. So people are able to kind of nickel and dime them in the run game. They're getting forward progress quite often. But what they do really well, this is a major thing too. Defensive rushing power success rate, 3rd and short, 4th and shorts, those got to have it. They can get blown off the ball, 125th in the nation.
Yep.
So whenever it comes down. Now, Texas is also not great on the offensive side, the inverse of this. So it will be interesting. It's kind of weakness versus weakness here. To see, and of course, Texas has the personnel advantage in that regard. And then defensive rushing explosivity, they're good. They're not giving up, the long runs. And Texas is not executing the long runs. So this will be an interesting one to watch if we can kind of finally break one and Sark will quit talking about that we're contact seeking once we get to the 3rd level. So that'll be interesting to see. But when you see a lack of explosivity, that generally just means you have sound run fits. So it's more of an indication too of like kind of coaching ability. Make sure you're not busting.
Also, UAB is particularly known for their inability to run the ball.
Right. They want to be a fancy passing offense. Anything else about defensive rushing that stuck out with you personnel wise or anything?
No, I think we should probably talk about Billy Pullen. So
let's bring old Billy into the mix.
Old Billy Pullen from Kaufman, Texas. Always when I'm scouting an inferior opponent, I always look at their players sort of critically and say, all right, who could play at Texas? Like that's a good way to kind of think of it. Billy Pullen could play at Texas. He's 6'3", 245. He's their outside rush linebacker. Mm-hmm. He's from Kaufman, Texas. Yep. He's a big white dude covered in tattoos, and he is very quick on a football field, and he is strong, and he's got a motor. He was a JUCO All-American. He had 17 sacks, I think, as a sophomore in JUCO. And
4 this season already, too.
Yeah, he's got 4 this year. He's a very disruptive beyond the sacks. He has a lot of tackles for loss. He has a lot of tackles in general. He had 8 tackles against UAB. Yep. He had a safety against them where he beat a double team and tackled it was a pretty studly move, too. He tackles the running back in the end zone. He's a player, man. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what his backstory is that he ended up at JUCO, but he could play ball. There's probably a reason he's at ULM, but he is a good player, and he's a guy that he's the guy on their defense that I would take, and he could play here.
Yeah, 4 sacks, impressive. What PFF hates him because he has a low win rate, like 7%. So what's interesting to have that many sacks and he's not winning his pass rush that often is that he's still able to change the game, which is interesting. But 6'3", 245, junior. So yeah, Billy Pullen, you're going to watch him. I'm sure on the broadcast too, they're going to want to mention old Billy.
I will offer that he's not gone against someone like Banks before. So I think that the wake-up call is not going to be Billy, Texas discovering Billy Pullen. It's going to be Billy Pullen discovering that there's 320-pound guys with feet as good as his.
Yeah, we'll have to see with old Billy Pullen of Texas. We don't know if he's always a culture fit, right? Whenever you hear the player that's good that went to JUCO and ULM, there's normally some
There might be a
life
story.
yeah, there's some life of crime background there.
He might have gone into like a birthday party and beat up a whole skating rink or something.
Yeah, so it's like there's normally some story there. What was the Netflix documentary?
Last Chance U?
Yeah, there might be some Last Chance U in him. We don't know. And of course, I don't know any of that. So he might be a great guy. So Billy, if I've besmirched you, I apologize. But I do know that he is a good player. And you need to watch out for him. He's been productive as far as getting sacks. And he's down to get in the mix. He's fun to watch. So that's them in. Let's look at their sack rate. I think they have a really high sack rate. Let me see.
Yeah, they have a lot of sacks and tackles for loss.
They do, but I don't know. I think, let me see. Oh, this is Texas stats. I was like, well, 89th. That's not very good. And then I was like, oh, that's us. All right, let's look.
Well, I'll chat as you're pulling up stuff.
Oh, here it is.
Their leading tackler is Carl Glass Jr. He's one of the guys who stayed at ULM with the staff change. He's undersized, about 5'11", 220. Interesting about him, just perusing the data, he's been targeted a lot in the passing game and successfully. So I think that's an interesting thing to note. But he is their leading tackler. So I guess how you feel about him depends if you're a Carl Glass half full or half empty kind of guy.
That's number 2 on the day, folks.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. Paul, you can go ahead and head out, man. That's a walk-off.
Go out in victory. That's what I say.
Sacks per game, first in the country. That's pretty much a Billy Pullen stat. Shout out, Billy. So, yeah, are they going to be able to do that versus Texas? I sure hope not, but they've been really good there in the pass rush. The pass rush is statistically the strength of their defense. All right. Passing game. Opponent yards per pass, 5.2. Really solid, 22nd in the nation. They've done well there, especially against UAB, right? I mean, they want to be able to pass. And they have some athletes on UAB. One of the fastest top 5 in the nation from that week was a UAB receiver. Opponent passing yards per game, 34th. Pass success rate, 73rd. So you're able to kind of nickel and dime them, right?
Yep.
And they also keep the lid on passing explosivity. So that'll be an interesting matchup with Texas, right? Can Bond catch a little screen and go for 50 again? The answer is probably yes. But that will be nice. Like say you are playing Arch Manning, right? This is not a bad enough passing defense where there's not a ton of real risk, but they're not statistically inept either, right? So you're going to have some value there if you're starting like an Arch Manning and stuff like that, to where the guys are not, logs. But once again, Texas depth at wide receiver too. It's going to be tricky for them. Is there any insight personnel DB wise?
Carlin Diggers had a pick 6 against UAB.
Yeah,
they've been active and again surprisingly cohesive for being a bunch of JUCO guys and transfers that they brought in.
Yeah.
That said, I think they're about to face a little different level of passing attack. So
yeah,
a lot of the things that they've done in the last 2 games are not going to be applicable to Texas. You're going to see that who you play matters in how you play. So, our Jacob Woodyard in the chat says 3 words that I love and Homer loves too: like and subscribe. If you like the video, hit like. And if you want to continue to get these videos, subscribe. That way you don't have to send me private messages on Inside Texas saying, when's the next blah, blah, blah coming? It's like, subscribe, man. It'll just be in your feed. So we kind of covered the Warhawks. Do we have some chat questions about our opponent or about anything in general? Anything you guys want addressed?
Yeah, chat, hit us up. Any questions you guys have on ULM, stat-wise, personnel-wise? We will.
Or what we're trying to get out of this game, etc.
Yeah, let us know.
I heard an interesting take. So Texas is a 44.5 point favorite.
Yep.
And a Vegas guy was like, well, Texas, there's a good chance they won't cover this because Arch Manning no longer comes in for Quinn Ewers.
Right.
And so, Arch Manning is obviously going to start this game and play. And so when we score a bunch of points and he goes to the bench, Trey Owens comes in, and we're probably going to run a little bit of a different defense or offense with Trey Owens rather than Arch Manning coming in all fired up and looking to throw it down the field and do some YOLO stuff. So that could be an interesting thing to look for. Texas might be up 35-0 in the third quarter and then kind of cruise to a 42-7 win just because we kind of take the foot off the gas pedal.
Eric yesterday on the show said sources said that, Arch is kind of a playmaker gunslinger, which is like coach speak for like, there's some interceptions coming.
Yeah.
So that's like the nice way to say like he's really good, but he's still making some dumb decisions as a young quarterback. Remember Quinn got that.
Yep.
Quinn got that label. And remember a game, the ULM, yeah, that game where on the second throw of the game he threw that pick. And so Quinn kind of got that gunslinger, and that's like the nice way of saying like he's still a young quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see, but also to see him with a week of prep, knowing like, hey, you're the guy. That's a very different thing than having to just come in as well. I want to see that Manning preparation prediction on how many quarters Arch will stay in. Probably third quarter seems like the theme, right? If you get to the magic 31, Sark likes, and then they come out and do something right out of half, he always seems to play him out of half to teach him that.
Yeah, he typically likes to play full first half, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you're going to come out, you're going to manage a drive in the third quarter, right? Whether it's the opening possession or the next possession after they punt or whatever. And if you score on that, you get to go out of the game. And if you don't, Sark will make you do another possession. So third quarter is the answer. We just don't know what part of the third quarter.
Yeah. Is there any chance someone emerges in the defensive line rotation? With all due respect to Lole, I just wonder if he's a progress stopper at this point. I'd like to see Bryant, even Bledsoe more. That's the thing, is Bledsoe hasn't taken that leap from when we've talked to Eric about it. I mean, everyone wants Bledsoe to take that leap. I mean, he has an incredible upside. Bryant is more interesting. Of course, we want to see Sadir too, but Bryant's older, so it's like I feel like we should see him more. But normally the coaches are correct here. They're playing the people they're playing for a reason. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, we're playing who we're playing for a reason. I get the idea of the mediocre veteran can inhibit the development of the super talented young guy. But the truth is that Bledsoe and Bryant haven't exhibited enough consistency to be considered the super talented young guy. I mean, they have the ability natively. I mean, if Bryant decides he wants to play in the NFL, he will play in the NFL. It's up to him. And Bledsoe, probably similar, but they're not showing it. And the coaches are going to reward people who show it. So that's
and also you've seen it too with this staff. Like, man, wait till their fifth year, and then they're going to become a first rounder.
Right. You're Gunnar Helm freaking hurdling guys.
Yeah, let them cook. I mean, if anything, you've seen like our guys, their last year for some reason, they're like, oh, now it's time to live up to potential. Each marginal team Texas played, they have dominated. But imagine how dominant those wins would have been if Texas had actually controlled the line of scrimmage and rushed for significant yardage. I feel you. I'm not in love with our rushing attack either. But also the reality of we're down two backs. It's going to look a little disjointed, but I agree.
Yeah, and dominance can be expressed in different ways. Remember, this is an elite pass blocking offensive line. And we don't think of that in terms of dominance, but given the choice in the NFL between an elite pass blocker and an elite run blocker, every GM in the NFL picks the elite pass blocker. So something to think about there.
Yeah, they do. You watch the personnel guys in the league, man, when they're watching tape, they're obsessed with pass block. If Dre gained the motivation and determination to consistently play football at a high level in practice and in games, he would be a dynamic playmaker at defensive tackle for Texas. I agree too. I think he's a special athlete. It's just all the little stuff. But like I said, let these guys cook. We've had good success in fourth and fifth year defensive tackle stuff. Sadir still have 1 foot in the doghouse. He should have shown more to date. I don't know anything about doghouse stuff. When you see him on the field, he's huge, man. He's
got 1 foot in the refrigerator in the pantry, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, so there's probably that kind of stuff, but I don't know about a doghouse. I just think he's young, and there's something with defensive tackles too, man. I don't know. There's a lot of like emotional immaturity there at that position. I don't know why that is.
They have of the 4 and 5 star rated recruits, defensive tackles have one of the highest bust rates, and most of their busts are self busts, meaning they eat themselves out of football, they get in legal trouble, they fail out of school, or they just don't try and practice.
I think there's a little bit of reality too to like being at that size doesn't really promote a disciplined person, and so I think it kind of that thing too. It's like, yeah, if you weigh 330, like genetically you have nothing to do. If you're 6'6", you didn't have anything to do with that. But if you're also not taking care of yourself, there could be a discipline issue there too. So maybe that's why they bust it at a disproportionate rate to other positions. I made up a comment on an earlier podcast today that Texas gave up 28 sacks last season in 14 games. So far this season, they've gone up 2 sacks in 3 games, I think. That's a significant improvement so far. Yeah. And Quinn, let's be honest too, Quinn's pocket. Like Quinn had a really high pressure to sack rate. He just, when it started to collapse on him, he would get happy feet and just kind of,
he didn't help his O-line last year.
Not at all.
He's helped them immensely this year.
Yeah, so it's also Quinn too not taking sacks, because there was plenty of time that he got sacked last year. Quinn earned those sacks. That had nothing to do with the offensive line. He was panicking.
I'd also caution that many sacks are not the fault of the offensive line, beyond even the quarterback. It's the running backs, it's the tight ends, it's guys who are secondary blocking personnel who don't pick up the blitzer or they get run through. Sanders, Helm, Jaden Blue, they all gave up sacks last year.
Good example, right? Arch Manning's sack. That was on Arch in the game. So it's like whenever that nickel comes out of the slot, that's not Banks's guy. And so that sack is not on Banks. So there's a lot of times too where, it was the quarterback's guy and he has to be responsible to throw hot there.
Yeah. Hey, it looks like a lot of people want to talk about some of the other games.
The opponent games of interest. And we shall do that.
Let's do it. We got to satisfy the people.
Yeah.
We are your servants.
But first, let us hear a word from our sponsor, Gabe Winslow.
One of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make in your life is the purchase of a home or the refinance of an existing home. And you need the right person on your team. That person is Gabe Winslow. He is a lifetime Longhorn, a huge supporter of Inside Texas and Longhorn Nation. And you can reach him at 832-557-1095. Why Gabe? Over 20 years in the industry. He has a law degree. He's fantastic at what he does, and he loves creating solutions for his clients. Give him a call. If he's not your first call, make darn sure he's your last call, and you'll find out why so many Longhorns have raved about the service that he provides. Hey, Homer, I'm here.
I'm gonna say you're right here.
Yeah,
I didn't want to catch you off guard. Hey, hit a Gabe promo right
now.
Oh,
or you could just let my natural skills kick in when I find a segue.
Take over.
But hey, to give you guys a heads up, Gabe is offering free refis right now. So if you bought a house in the last 2 years, you've got a higher rate. Give him a call at 832-557-1095. He'll refi you for free. And there's no gimmicks or anything attached to that.
God bless him. All right, let's look at the opponent games of interest real quick while I try to fight off a sneeze real quick. All right, we are good. So opponent games of interest. A lot of people are talking. Let's just start with Oklahoma, right? So we have Oklahoma versus Tennessee.
I was going to say Florida, Mississippi State is not that interesting, is it?
Yeah, we'll give the fans what they want. We'll jump down to the bottom and talk Oklahoma versus Tennessee. Tennessee 7-point favorites. Let's discuss. All right. OU is minus or +7 against Tennessee. You betting the mortgage on that one?
I'm not betting the mortgage on that one. But I do have Tennessee -3, -3.5, and -4. I got some forward-looking lines. I wish I'd bet Tennessee +3.5 in the summer, but I didn't get around to that. I like the matchups. I actually think the real issue in this game, all the Tennessee offense is getting all the media and the press against the OU defense. I think it's going to be the other matchup that'll be more telling in this game if Tennessee can win by margin. It's going to be the Tennessee defense. They have a really good defensive line. I'm not actually sold on their secondary, but so far you've not had to have an elite secondary to shut down OU's passing attack, as evidenced by Houston and Tulane. So I would say that OU offensive line is going to get wrecked against Tennessee's D-line, and particularly James Pierce. Those of you who don't know who he is about 6'5", 250. Runs a 4.40 off the edge. So that's a matchup to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's their first rounder, first edge off the board guy. Yeah, it's you see Heupel's press conference.
No, but
He
he's got
was-
some motivation for this game. Tell me.
And he was talking a little bit of noise, talking about how he was going to silence the OU crowd and like actual,
No way.
some actual stuff there. Where I was like, oh, that's not just like coach speak. He's actually, and he smiled after he said it. He's clearly kind of selling the fight, which I appreciate,
Yeah.
But I really liked that. Yeah, he said that. I was like, oh wow, coaches won't actually say it. So there's some bad blood there, of course, and that's going to be super interesting. If that OU offense is still super inept, what do you do there? And then
so remember, Heupel was fired effectively from OU, went to Tennessee, started that rebuild, had immediate success. The OU job comes open. Heupel throws his hat in the ring through his agent, and OU said, thanks, but no thanks. We're good.
Yeah.
And Heupel's like, oh, 2024. Let me get my Sharpie out and circle this date.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. What do you think it ends up?
I don't know. I think if Tennessee wins by margin, I don't think it's going to be 56-21. I think it's going to be more like 31-10. And I think the OU offense is going to be frustrated, and then Tennessee's offense will string together some plays. I also think Tennessee's going to run the ball a little bit better than people think with those big wide splits. Venables is going to try to blitz through those splits, and they'll have some success. So I wouldn't take OU's defense lightly in this matchup. But once Tennessee makes some adjustments to that, blitzing those splits can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So this is kind of the matchup at a glance.
What's the predicted score by the nerds?
So projected total is 54 points, and then plus projected margin is 12 points.
Yeah. Feels right.
OU's got an 18% win percentage.
Oh, I would think it's higher than that. That seems pretty modest, but
not according to the Magic stats here. Are you questioning the Magic?
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this game for sure.
Well, simple analysis, guys. If you guys don't want to do nerdy stuff, who has a lot more blue here? It's Tennessee. So the Tennessee on the left, pretty much all blue. The only thing that's red is rush rate over expected. That's because they're winning games by so much. They're running out the clock the entire second half. So pretty much everything they're doing is effective over on Tennessee. OU is really struggling with their overall offensive success rate. They're super inconsistent, 103rd in the nation there. And they're really awful at their success rate in drop back passing. So that's Jackson Arnold's ability to really delegate. They're 117th in the nation.
And Tennessee has the requisite amount of ruthlessness. They onside kicked up 30-0 against Penn State.
Heupel is not. He is running up the score. Like this is not a gentleman's agreement. It's going to be a mean version if they let them beat. There is no way for you in this game. I agree. Let's look upon. You want to look at Mississippi State, Florida?
Not really.
We should though, because we play both opponents.
They both suck.
Yeah, they do. It's gonna be a mid-off, right? But this is also for Napier, right? They're calling those damned Board of Regents meetings, which is not good. He had to give his vote of confidence in a quote that no, they haven't told me anything yet. I'm still the coach. It's like, we've seen this story before. But you're playing a really bad Mississippi State team, right? If you lose to them, I mean, the nail, you already got 9 out of 10 nails in the coffin. But
so here's why this game's an interesting diagnostic. If Florida loses to Mississippi State, it means they've quit. So they're more talented than Mississippi State at almost every position. If they lose that game, it's because they're not trying. They quit. Guys are already trying to set up their portal transfers after the season. It's over. So, that will be very telling. Mississippi State is not good. They got boat raced by Toledo at home. They lost to Arizona State on the road. If you guys read my 2024 Longhorn football prospectus, I had a very low opinion of Mississippi State's prospects this year, and they're living up to that billing or down to that billing.
Yeah. So, guys, color analysis here. These are two bad teams.
Yep. Some deep red over there. Holy cow.
Yeah. So the defensive success rate for how they can stop opposing offenses from being consistent, they're 121st in the nation. So basically, and that's for the entire defense, rush and drop back. So you can move the ball at will on Mississippi State on the ground and in the air. They have really no true ability there. And remember, guys, this is on collegefootballinsiders.com. So go check them out. This is a really good website for you guys to kind of see at a glance these matchups.
Is it a pay site?
No, entirely free.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so really good stuff. It's Parker on Twitter, Stats of War.
Yeah,
that's his. This is his with some other guys, but they do really good stuff here, guys. And this is how you can kind of see stuff at a glance. I don't use this often for like Texas matchups because I go much deeper. But if we're just talking about a quick matchup like Florida versus Mississippi State, I can get my mind around kind of where these teams lie. So, but we will see emotionally kind of where the Gators are at, because if they're able to choose to lose versus Mississippi State, then there's going to be some issues there. All righty. Keep on trucking. Kentucky versus Ohio. And this is more of a conversation about Kentucky versus Georgia, I would assume. I only got to see the fourth quarter when we were watching when we were all doing the post game. Did you get a chance to rewatch?
No, I just saw like some snippets of it and got the gist of Stoops squatting and peeing and punting late in the game when they had a chance to win.
Yeah, that's an insane thing to do. That's
just incredible.
That's just giving them too much credit, man. Especially in that situation. You can't think you're facing Georgia of the past whatever years. You need to face Georgia on the field that day.
Who you're winning, who you're beating.
Yeah,
that's
just
crazy.
Totally psyched himself out.
Yeah, Kentucky, we can't figure that team out. We're gonna need more data points, because we've seen their low and we've seen their high, and their high is pretty good, especially on defense. Their low is real low. So I'll say this: I don't think the Kentucky offense is gonna put up a lot of points on the Texas Longhorns.
We don't play them, but I mean, the key to figuring out Kentucky is you got to figure out South Carolina. And so that's what's been kind of a trip with them. Let's see, quick matchup here. Kentucky with a 96% chance to win here. They think the score will be 34-10. Low 45 over under. So the only thing that it seems like Kentucky's really bad at is being consistent in the pass game, which I think is fair with their quarterback. So Kentucky should walk through this one. We're not going to learn a lot there, but it might be interesting. If you have the time to watch it on Saturday, watch it, because it's, like I said, they're kind of an enigma so far this season. So there's some intrigue in trying to watch Kentucky and see what they're actually all about. Got anything there, Paul? Good?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Think it's going to be a close one with Ohio? Barn burner?
Kentucky should win. It'll probably be ugly, but I don't know how Ohio would score.
Auburn versus Arkansas. Who did they play last week that they went to the wire with?
Arkansas played UAB, and Auburn played New Mexico.
Yeah. Weird.
So Auburn's got a new quarterback. Same old Auburn. They lost to Cal. Arkansas lost a heartbreaker to Oklahoma State, in which they actually outplayed Oklahoma State, and then they laid an egg for 3 quarters at home against UAB before they rallied. So 2 very inconsistent teams searching for an SEC identity, right? And this game will determine, like, are we finishing in the middle class or are we finishing at the bottom of the league?
No. Yeah, Arkansas, weird team, right? Because they got some athletes, like their quarterback, of course, Jaquindon Jackson, but
I'm not sure they have an O-line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Traylor's got to have a job next season, right?
That's right.
And we can let him go to Arkansas, which might bite us in the butt, but we'll see. But the smart guys, the advanced stat guys, think it's going to be, wow, this is really close. 28 points to Auburn, 27 points to Arkansas. 51% chance Auburn takes the win there. And they're starting another quarterback now at Auburn, right?
Hank Brown.
Okay. But big kind of things to notice with the Auburn defense, their Eckel rate. Eckel, just think of it kind of how often they can stop the offense from having opportunities, kind of like a red zone thing. So they're really bad. They give opposing offenses a lot of scoring opportunities. really bad field position at 107th in the country, and a really horrible rushing defense for EPA per rush on defense. So not a good side. On the flip, Arkansas defense also struggles. Same thing with giving opportunities to offense. They also have awful field position, and they let teams on first and second down gain way too much yards. So those are your keys there. Take it to Vegas. You heard it here first. And then we had a question about A&M, which I think will work out with who's next. Texas A&M versus Bowling Green. So the question was about the quarterback there. A&M's prospects change with Reed behind center. What do you think?
Yes, for the better. He's better suited to Klein's system. Wegman's got all sorts of issues on and off the field, and he's just not a natural leader. So the thing about Reed, he is dynamic. He's also a true freshman. So you're going to see some really good, you're going to see some really good games where he puts up stats and yards. And you're going to see some really rough games because of his inexperience. When in doubt, Texas A&M is going to run him. Wouldn't take too much from the Florida game because Florida was busting coverages. They suck. They have no pass rush. Just like the Aggies are going to do their traditional roller coaster with Marcel Reed and the fall.
Well, also, but Colin Klein, right? He can utilize a runner. So that'll be interesting to see how he kind of designs the game for him.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of quarterback run game, no doubt. But he's a freshman. He's not physically developed.
Yeah, he's small.
He's not a big guy like that. There's a cost to running your quarterback.
Yeah, and A&M would know that. Wigman, how long is he diagnosed out for? Like a couple weeks? I don't even know what his injury thing is. Or what are they saying from A&M land? Are they like, Wigman's our quarterback and we love him? Or like, kind of how are they playing this?
I think there's ways to bench your quarterback without benching your quarterback publicly. How about that?
Yeah. Bowling Green versus A&M on the matchup here. A&M should win by 23 points. Bowling Green has a 3.6% win percentage.
Well, I've got Bowling Green plus 23.5. Therefore, I will win this game by half a point. I feel great.
Yeah. A&M, just looking at them on the far right, offensive success rate and the drop back 110 in the nation. So not a consistent passing offense. And then on offense, 1.3 points per drive. So they're not really good at scoring. That puts them at 86 in the nation. So, of course, it's not going to be a problem for them versus Bowling Green, but it'll be a problem for them versus us and stuff like that down the road. So, like I said, College Football Insiders, great stuff to look, and you can kind of see the problems that are coming down the road for A&M. A little bit too much red here on the offensive side.
I kind of have a theory I'm developing on A&M where any game where they can physically overwhelm you in the trenches, particularly on defense, you're in trouble. But if you can block them, if you can hold up, I think A&M gets put in its place. So what I would say is pick out the teams on A&M's schedule that have good O-lines, and those are the games that you should probably fade them pretty hard. Texas, maybe LSU if LSU doesn't play stupid as they typically do.
Yeah.
But if you have a kind of a weak offensive line, I wouldn't want to go against A&M's front down after down.
Yeah. What do you think? I was talking to an A&M fan yesterday about this. So they were just telling me the usual stuff. They're like, man, Texas A&M is a super hard place to play. And I get that it's a loud place to play, but shouldn't we grade places to play on the actual effect on the results?
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
The quality of their team probably has the greatest effect, right? Rather than the place.
Right. But it's like, how can we keep saying this is such a powerful home environment when they lose all the time? So it's like, how are we quantifying that? So it's like, are we using decibel readers? I'm good with that. But it's like, you can't be qualified as having this home field advantage when the numbers never bear out in a win.
Right. Whereas Utah quietly has this amazing home field advantage, right? That's actually quantifiable.
Yeah, by wins.
Like there's a significant difference between Utah on the road and Utah at home. A&M on the road is also terrible. So.
Yeah, so you can technically say, yeah, we're better at home, but that's just because you guys are so historically bad. on the road. But that's always drives me
One in
nuts.
Florida.
When they're like, yeah, but it's going to be a crazy place to play. And of course it is versus Texas. But I'm like, you can't say it's a crazy place to play when people are constantly able to walk in there and win.
Yeah. Well, that all said, it's going to be nuts when we.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely insane. I can't wait. Man, that's going to be. Also, do think about it, right? Texas is still rolling. A&M has a couple losses. I mean, their whole season's going to hinge on just what's the 300 god that they like nick his face and he bleeds, and then that even though they don't like actually kill him, it just shows that he has weakness. That's kind of like what A&M is going to want to do to Texas if Texas handles business. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it was nice looking. This is not a very fun slate, let's be honest, but
I think OU and
I think Tennessee OU will be that's my game of the week.
We'll see if the other UT can do their job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Paul, any last things? Are you all good?
No, we did our job. Chat, thank you. You guys did your job. But if you haven't liked and subscribed or gone and joined Inside Texas, you haven't completed your job or your mission yet. So go do that.
Absolutely. And then we will be back on tomorrow at 9:30. Me and Ian. We will dive more into Texas-specific stuff opposed to opponent-specific stuff. And then we'll probably get in some schematics. I know you guys like that when we go more in depth. So see you guys again at 9:30. And then also today at 3 p.m., I believe, we have recruiting intel. So Joe, Justin, and Charlie will give you the latest on Michael Terry's visit, 5-star there. I'm sure they'll talk about the new On3 5-stars we got. So make sure to tune in there for all you recruit heads. But
not just that, there's some interesting stuff afoot of various under the radar 5-stars committed to other teams contacting Texas. So
a lot of intrigue there. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Paul, thank you for coming on. And hook 'em, y'all.